All right, folks. Welcome back to the Atlantic Strong podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Dickens, and tonight we have Alex Bland. You might know him as Bodybuilding Yogi on Instagram. And Alex just competed last weekend at the Renfrew / Raw Power Record Breakers strongman comp. So I reached out to a few people to get them onto the show over the next few weeks to talk about the competition. And Alex is the first one. So how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, feeling pretty sore, and happy. Just really happy with how it went.
Was that your first strongman competition?
Yep, it was my first strongman comp, first ever strength-based competition before.
Now, have you competed in bodybuilding before?
Yeah, so I've been competing in bodybuilding since 2013. And, I always loved bodybuilding growing up, loved lifting weights, and I always loved lifting heavy. I just never really got introduced to strongman training until Prime Strength opened, and joined up there and just fell in love with it.
So you started competing in bodybuilding in 2013. When before that did you actually start lifting weights?
I think I was probably about 15 years old, started lifting weights. I always did Taekwondo my whole life. I started when I was just a kid. And so I grew up loving fitness and loving training. Always did pull-ups, push-ups, all that stuff growing up. And then when I kind of got out of Taekwondo when I was a teenager and was always the small guy. Always, I was always like, I've never been the tallest and short growing up, and I'm only 5'5" now. And just wanted to get a little bit bigger. So I asked my mom if she could buy me some weights, and she got me the old school Weeder barbell set. And I just started lifting in my basement, just doing whatever I could find in the magazines, doing curls, doing overhead press, bent over rows and chin-ups. I never trained legs for probably the first 3 or 4 years, just because all I ever did was Taekwondo. So I had these big tree trunk legs and just skinny little upper body. So yeah, would have started my mom's basement when I was about 15 years old.
And how old are you now?
I'm 28.
28. And you're a sheriff or a corrections officer? What do you do for work?
Yep. I'm a sheriff. So I've been a sheriff now for about 4 years, and I was a correctional officer for 3 years before that.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, 2013, you start training seriously and competing in bodybuilding. Fast forward, when did you get introduced to Prime Strength?
I can't remember who it was that mentioned it to me, but I was training at World Gym at the time, and they just opened up and they're like, man, you should check this place out. Like, I think you would just like the different equipment that they have. And I'm a big fan of trying new things. If you name a sport out there that seems hard to do, I've probably tried it. I love it. So I went over I sent a message and asked if I could just come in for a tour and see all the equipment and whatnot. And Dave is just such a nice guy. He's like, yeah, man, come on over anytime. I'll show you around. And I showed up with a gym bag. So he's like, buddy, if you want to get a workout in and try it out, give her. So I tried it out. I think I started on the log, and then I moved over to the yoke. And by the time I was done those two, I was dead. And I went right up. I'm like, buddy, sign me up for a year. I'm in. And I honestly, I haven't been to a conventional gym since. I haven't been back to World Gym. just been training at Prime Strength, learning all the new events, and then just trying to get better at them, taking tips from people here and there, and going from there.
Yeah, what they've been able to build at Prime Strength in the past year. I mean, they've not even been open a year yet. It was the first week of March. We did Heavier Than Hell, the Heavier Than Hell weekend, and Dave and Aaron were involved in that, where they were just getting into the space and setting up the gym. So now we're the end of March. So they're still not at a year being open, and it's really impressive what they've been able to do and build down there.
Oh my God, I love it. Like you walk in and to me, it's like it's divided into like three sections. At the front corner, you got all your Olympic lifters, and they're in there every single night killing it. And then in the back corner, you got all your power lifters. Just like I said, everybody in there is motivated. Like
Yeah.
you walk into that gym, and then you got your big track down going down the edge of the gym, and that's where all your strongman stuff is. And that's where I hang out. I love it. I love it. The only other place you'll find me is on a deadlift platform, but besides that, I'm always on the track. I love the endurance, like the endurance events. I just love pushing myself. I love seeing. To me, like strongman is just the ultimate. You know what I mean? It's like no, it's not everything is how heavy can you lift it once.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's you got to lift this a bunch. You know what I mean?
And
And I
that's
just combo.
and that's the appeal of strongman and strongman training is there's so many different variables, and you can train a different variable with each implement and with each exercise.
Yeah.
I talked to the guy that owns Northern Warrior, Tyler Desplinter up in Ontario, who manufactures strongman equipment and trains and competes himself. And it's uh, the draw is being able to tailor your training towards how you're feeling on any given day. If you don't have a competition, if you're not looking down the barrel of a competition, if you're beat up, well, then you can do speed work on yoke and farmers, or if you're feeling good, then you can load it up and go heavy in it. And it doesn't matter if you do decide to lighten something up and go for reps or go for speed, you're still training a variable that could be tested in a competition. You might have to do
Yeah.
reps, or it
Yeah.
might be a timed event. So it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you're taking a step backwards by changing the way you're training, because you're still training that variable that's going to be measured
Yeah.
if you compete long enough.
No, for sure. Like I remember, like I probably was there about 3 or 4 months just working on my strength. And then that's when I'm like, all right, let's start timing some things. Let's see what I can do for a minute.
Yeah.
The minute you're like, all right, I'm going to try to squat 400 pounds for a minute. That's when you realize that's crazy.
Yeah.
like you get to like 3 or 4 reps and you're maybe 20 seconds in and you are gassing. And even like this weekend when it was 450 and it was the best you could do in 60 seconds. And the squat is probably like my I would say my worst event. And just getting two, I was gassed. I was like, all right, I'm racking it. Like this is craziness. But to think like people actually will shoot for that entire minute, it's unreal.
Oh, it's
Like
crazy.
circus dumbbell. Like I got 4 reps in a minute and then recovering for 5 minutes after,
Yeah.
trying to catch my breath. Yeah.
It's crazy to think, or to feel when you do one of those events that it's systematic failure of your whole body. It's not muscular failure of that one thing.
No,
You know,
it's true. Yeah.
I watch a lot of the Mike Rizzatrell RP stuff on YouTube, and that's what he was saying about about doing drop sets, or a lot of drop sets, as you get to the point where your whole system is shut down, not just your biceps, because you keep lowering the weight. But in strongman you don't lower the weight,
Yeah.
so it's whole body failure at the end of that 60 seconds or before.
Yeah.
So when did you decide that you were going to do this competition?
As soon as I saw it. And the reason for that is when I first started in strongman, I was getting ready for a really big bodybuilding competition and it got canceled 3 weeks before it happened. So I was kind of like, I went from being all out, like doing an hour cardio every morning, training every night, tracking all my food. Like I coach myself. So I'm tracking all my food and everything. And then COVID happened and everything got shut down and I had nothing to work towards. And then when Prime Strength got opened up when the gyms finally opened. So I went in and did my first week, and then I saw that there was going to be an event. It would have been, I think it was like 12 weeks away. I can't remember the date, but I was like, 12 weeks, maybe I can, 12 weeks is enough time to prepare and try it out and see if I like it. And that one ended up getting canceled. So I was just like, all right, well, you know what? I'm really not that strong yet. So I can put in more time and be more ready. And then the minute that they posted the record breakers, I was like, all right, this is what I'm edging for. So I knew, and like they posted all the weights, and I was sitting at about 200 pounds, and I looked at all the events for the middleweight, and I'm like, oh, that's like a tough pull. Like I probably couldn't get most of the lifts off the ground.
Yeah.
So I know that I can comfortably get down to 180 and still be pretty strong. So I just started dieting down as soon as they posted for the contests, and got down to about 180, and then I just dropped the water to make that 80 kilo weight class, so 176.
Yeah. So did they do? They did. So they did 231 or under 105 kilos, and then the next jump down was 80 kilos, or did they do 90?
No 90s, so it was just
No
80
90s.
kilos.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a tough drop for me. Like I didn't in my head when I decided like, oh, I'm going to drop to lightweight, I thought it would be pretty easy, but it was my first time trying to drop the weight, but to make sure my performance stayed high. So I was eating as much as I could while still losing weight, and just kind of made up for it with doing cardio in the mornings and stuff like that. But I was stuck at 182 right up until Friday of weigh-ins. Like I didn't get any lower. So I ended up dropping some water weight, doing some hot baths, and got down to 174 before weigh-ins.
So they did 24-hour weigh-in for that?
It was 14 hours. So they did the
14 hours.
weigh-ins at 6 p.m. on Friday, and then the contest started at 11:30, 12 o'clock
Oh, okay.
one day.
That's that's a lot better than the IPF CPU powerlifting. They do a 2-hour weigh-in.
That would have killed me. I wouldn't have had a chance. Like I was
Oh man.
I was emptied right out. I didn't eat on Friday. I only had 3 or 4 rice cakes all day, waiting for the weigh-in to happen. And then when I finally made weight, me and my girlfriend just started eating. we had sushi, French fries, chips, like anything carbs you could think of. I ate that night, and then woke up and had pancakes. By the time I stepped on the scale before I left for the competition, I was 187. So I was up 13 pounds in 14 hours.
Nice.
Yeah.
I cut 12 pounds one time back in the day. I was doing some MMA fighting, and I had to do, and I was heavy. I was 277 the day. I was 277 the week of the fight, and I was 270 the morning of the weigh-in. Weigh-in was 2 in the afternoon. I was 270 in St. John at 6 a.m. and had to weigh in Lewiston, Maine at 2 p.m. And so I even did the spitting in the cup on the drive down.
Oh my.
Drove down to Lewiston, Maine, checked into the hotel, didn't even go into the hotel room, went right to the sauna, stayed in the sauna with a few of the other fighters until weigh-ins. And then I still ended up being a pound over. But yeah, by the time I got back to the fight on Saturday, I was right back to 277. So I lost the 12 and gained it right back.
Yeah, as long as you can hammer the water back into you and get hydrated again. Like I felt like I remember telling my girlfriend on Thursday, because I basically cut down carbs just so I could get as much water out of me as I could. And I remember telling her on Thursday, I'm like, I feel like I can't lift a toothpick right now. Like I'm kind of worried. And but by the time I woke up Friday morning, I felt like Superman again, just carb loaded, and I felt great. I was really excited too, because I injured my rib about a month out. I was squatting, and just something weird happened in the bottom of the squat. Like it felt like my ribs came out of my belt.
Yep.
And so my buddy Terry helped me out of the squat, and I couldn't even, the next day I was like, oh, it's not so bad. Like, I think I'll be fine. And then by day 2, I couldn't even get out of bed. Like all my ribs were just so sore and tight. But by the time I got to the competition, it was good enough that I bought one of those neoprene Cerebrus belts.
Yeah.
And threw another belt over top and just kind of grunt and bared through it. And it was sore, but it didn't hold me back, which was good. That's all I cared about. I was like, as long as I can just get through it and it doesn't get any worse and doesn't hold me back, then I'll be happy. And that's why I only went for 2 reps on the squat too, because that's how I hurt my ribs. So it felt good. I did 2, and I know it's not my best event. So in training, I was struggling with 1 or 2. So I was happy that I got 2 and racked it and moved on.
So how did you structure your training leading up to the competition?
Basically, the minute I found out all the events, I just kind of broke it down into what was more upper body, what was more lower body, kind of placed them together. Like, and I think I'm quite built for like the event like Thor's hammer and the log press. I'm really short and stocky. So when I see the tall guys do it, it's almost like more impressive when they finally get it overhead, just how high up the damn log is.
Yeah.
But for me, I find I'm so low to the ground, I just feel really stable. So I'd throw the log and the Thor's hammer on the same day and just kind of I would do enough that between those 2 events, I was done. And then I would usually finish with just some accessory work. Like I would practice, I found like with the circus dumbbell, my lockout was always the hardest. Like I'd lose balance. So I was working with a lot of resistance bands and just holding it at the lockout position and do that just till like I felt like I was going to fail kind of thing. And that's pretty much how I did it. And then on like the squat day, like I'd do squat and deadlift on the same day, but I would usually rotate which ones I would pick for first. Like one week it would be deadlift first, then squat, and then the next I'd pick the squat first. And I always like for the wagon wheel height, I would always try to set the wagon wheel height just a little bit lower than what I thought it would be in competition, just to not be caught off by surprise. And it was too, like, it was kind of nice. Like when I got to the competition, I would say it was about 2 inches higher than what I was training on. So it felt like it went up much easier. I didn't feel as stuck at the bottom.
Did you find the switching to that wagon wheel height difficult? Because I know that I find, like an 18-inch rack pull isn't very hard to get into a good position, but like a 12 or 13-inch wagon wheel, I find is kind of a weird spot for me to try to get into my starting position. Did you find that making the switch?
Are you talking about deadlift or squat?
Oh yeah, they did the wagon wheels with the squat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really fun to watch.
I found hard about the wagon wheel squat with the axle bar. The axle bar, I find it throws you off because you got like I'm so used to pulling the bar down into me.
Yeah.
But with the wagon wheel, you almost have to kind of like push it against your shoulders and just kind of hold it in that balance almost. So that was to me the weirdest thing to get used to with that event.
Were you able to kind of bounce it off of the bottom, or did you just do a light touch and then come back up?
Honestly, like when I watched the videos and how it felt, like I basically stopped it on the bottom and then just like leg pressed it out almost. Like it literally came to like a full rest, both reps, and then I just pressed as hard as I could and managed to get them up. Bad momentum. But in my head, I was kind of worried about my ribs, and even like, I'm not sure. And then when I seen everybody else killing it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try the squat. Let's see how it goes. So in my head, I was like, just go as slow as you can, and just wait. And if you feel those platforms and you don't feel any pain, then drive it up.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I did.
I was able to catch most of the squat on the live stream. Okay. And man, some of the numbers are really impressive, especially from the women.
Man, some of those late, like my friend Allison just killed it. Like she got like 450 feet with the Husafell.
Yeah.
Didn't even make sense. I lost count of how many times she ran back and forth, and her knee wrap came off, and she was like stepping on top of her knee wrap every step, and just she never set it down. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I'm hoping after watching this weekend, Atlantic Canada's strongest woman last year, it was only Natasha Ching, uh, Allison, and Aaron from Prime Strength. So I'm hoping this competition and how impressive the women were gets more women into the sport and competing
It
because
was
man, it was awesome to watch.
and it was nice. It wasn't just like one chick in each event. Like there was two or three for each weight class, it seemed.
Yeah,
And it was a pretty, like, it was almost 50-50 between men and women competitors, and strong women, sorry. Yeah, some, like, there was a few there that just impressed the hell out of me. And I honestly think they could have picked heavier weights for these chicks.
yeah. It's
That's like
always
on
an
the,
issue.
cause, well, yeah. And like, I remember Brad saying, he's like, we just didn't want to pick a weight and nobody be able to lift it. But I think
Yeah,
one of the lightweight ladies got like 23 reps on the deadlift.
yeah. It was
It was,
Brittany Pepperdine or
yeah.
Pepperdin. Yeah, 23 reps with 185 pounds
And like
on the
that's still not
deadlift.
light. You know what I mean? That's a pretty good deadlift for a woman that size. And to get 23 reps is just nuts.
Well, and Christina Richard got 23 reps with 225 on the deadlift,
That's crazy.
and then Melissa Guerin,
Yeah.
Guerin, she got 33 with 225.
Okay, I missed those two. That's crazy.
Yeah.
33 reps. I would struggle at 33 reps with 225.
Oh, so
My
would I.
competitor would give out.
And like Natasha Ching, longtime power lifter, president of the president of Nova Scotia powerlifting. Of course, she killed the deadlift. She got 8 reps with 350. Just super impressive all around. And there were some big lifts too. There was, 3 Packer hit 315 on the log.
Yeah, that was one.
Bradley Tremblay, 6 reps with 585 on the deadlift.
Yeah, he got 6 reps on the squat too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he
500 on the squat.
He grinded through, like he got 2 more than I thought he was going to when I was watching. I was like,
I thought he was done at 4 and he did 6.
Yeah, yeah.
He
pushed hard.
And Grant, 675 for 7 on the deadlift.
Yeah,
I think it's safe to say that Grant's in fine shape for this season.
yeah. And he got 1:25 on Thor's hammer, which that's to me crazy, because like I never got over 50 seconds in training, and I got 59 at the competition. So I was really happy. I'm curious to see what these big guys get, because I feel like it was one of my best events. And 125, that's just crazy. And he probably had a bit more in him. I feel like he had a little bit more in him. But yeah. I guessed that he was going to get 1:30. That was my prediction. So he came really close.
Well, and he's got that same event at the teams competition in May.
Okay.
They're doing a Thor's hammer there where you and your partner each do it and your time is combined. Well, so him and Jordan Prophet, who competed last weekend, they're competing at the teams.
Nice.
Yeah. So you did all the events?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got 255 on the log. What was your best log prior to the competition?
240.
240.
And I was at a body weight of 200 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So I feel like I really improved on the log. And in training, my last heavy log day, I got 225 for 4. And I was like, okay, I was gonna shoot for 250, but I didn't know it was going up by 20s. So they're like, dude, you're at 255. And I was like, wow, if I'm gonna do it, now's the time. and I got it. And I got it like I struggled more at 235 than I did at 255. Like I don't know if I got a better little like squat press out of it, but it just locked out better. And then I tried for 275, but that's where I failed. But
Yeah, that's a big jump.
yeah,
20 pounds from 255 to 275. That's a big jump. You know
yeah,
what? Going back to where you felt better at 255 than 235, that happens to me quite often too. And I think it's honestly, I think that when I do that like last warm up or second to last warm up, or if I'm going for a big number, if I'm going for say like a first attempt in the powerlifting competition, that first attempt doesn't feel great, but my second feels better. And looking back, it's like, maybe I was just not warmed up. And then
yeah.
by the time I
But
hit that bigger number, I was actually warmed up from the set that didn't feel great.
you could be right because I find kind of feel that way too. Or if you're working towards like a couple rep, like a few reps at the same weight, usually the second round through, you
Yeah.
usually feeling much better with it and more comfortable and stronger. That's how I usually feel anyway. But I was kind of surprised that I got 255. I'm like, I'm really light compared to what I was.
Yeah.
And it was a new log too. I haven't used a 12-inch diameter before. The one at Prime is 10.
It's 10. Yeah.
But I
And it's
found,
slippery.
yeah,
The one at Prime is slippery.
it is. It is. I found that doing the clean was harder with the big log, but the actual press was a little easier. It just felt like it was a little higher up on my shoulders.
Yeah. I mean, you've taken away 2 inches of range of motion, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the clean on the bigger logs. There's kind of a point of not diminishing returns, but it the bigger log, the clean feels worse until you get used to it. And then going
Yeah.
back to the smaller log, when you go back to a smaller log after a long time with the bigger one, the smaller log is way harder to clean.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
I haven't.
if you spend a couple weeks on that 12-inch log, when you went back to Prime with the 10, especially Prime's 10, which is smooth in the middle, it's really slippery, you would have a hard time with that.
Hmm. Yeah, I enjoy it though. Like it was nice, and I got to try it out before we started at 175, and that was my intro lift. And I decided to skip it because it just felt I was like, all right, no sense in doing this one.
Yeah.
I'll start at 195 and save some energy and try for that PR. And it felt really good that log. Like I was pretty, and like I was nervous because a lot of that equipment was all new to me. Never tried it before.
Yeah.
Like that circus dumbbell was freaking humongous. Like it was way
Yeah. It
bigger
was
than
big.
anything that I've ever used. And like I have my buddy taught me a technique where you kind of sink the edge of the dumbbell right into your like the edge of your trap,
Yeah.
and it like locks it in. But that dumbbell was so big, it was like hitting me in the ear and the trap at the same time, trying to get it overhead. But I got 4 reps in training. I got 7, but I was using a way different dumbbell,
Yeah.
totally different.
What was the weight on that?
120.
I watched the live stream, but they didn't have somebody commentating. They didn't have somebody commentating like into the phone or whatever they were using, so I
Okay.
couldn't really hear the announcer. So on the live
Okay.
stream, I kept typing, "Hey, what's the weight? What's the weight?" And if somebody happened to be walking by that was using that phone or whatever, they told me. But
Yeah. Yeah, it was just there was just somebody there kind of with a tripod just setting up a phone and
yeah,
leaving it in that angle. So I noticed that. I didn't even know there was a live stream until halfway through the day.
yeah, they've been live streaming the events in Newfoundland. And so I'm organizing an event here in St. John, and I messaged the guys in Newfoundland. I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing for your live stream? You using a camera, computer, or what are you using?" They go, "Well, we duct tape a phone to the wall." So that's their live stream, is they duct tape the phone to the wall. Then somebody has to check it every hour or so, make sure it's still going.
Wow.
But that the picture quality was really good. And the sound quality was good, but the commentator was on the other side of the room, and there was a lot of the phone or whatever was over with the spectators, so there was a lot of chatter. But it gave me the idea that when I do New Brunswick Strongest Man in April next month, I'll have somebody plugged right into that phone and commentate.
That's smart,
Yeah.
especially now with COVID and everything. Like, you're not going to get as many spectators. And I know, like, all my family's in New Brunswick, so my whole family couldn't come out to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I got lots of videos of every event because I didn't know there was a live feed. But like, if I would have known, I'm just bad at checking social media. That's my issue. But if people know that there's a live stream, they'll tune in. And having somebody commentate would be beneficial, because it like, people don't know the weights unless you're directly speaking with somebody, right? Or unless it's very obvious, like if you're looking at counting plates on a deadlift or something like that.
Yeah.
But the circus dumbbell just looks the same for everybody, but it certainly is not.
No.
Yeah.
And that really, of everything you did last Saturday, the most impressive was the stone.
That killed me.
I mean, you basically had to press it up over the bar.
The bar was 52 inches and I'm 64 inches tall.
Yeah.
So it was tough. And I remember we were in the athletes meeting and they were going over all the rules, and somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they were pretty tall. I'd say like 5'9", 5'10", which is tall to me. And they're like, man, like that bar height's tall. Like, I've been struggling. And I just kind of like turned and looked. I'm like, what? I'm like, I literally have to find a way to get that stone onto my shoulder to get it over. But I was pretty surprised they actually didn't have all the weights that they needed. They, like, what I was training on was 220, which was what they had posted, but they only had a 240. So I was like, okay. And they're like, well, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah.
And the first rep, I don't know if you saw from the live, I struggled with the first rep. Like, it kind of rolled back on me and I pushed it over. And then in my head, I literally have to like just rely on my instinct of where the bar is and go right up onto my tippy toes every time. Like, my uncle got a good video, and if you look at my feet, every single time I'm way up on doing a huge calf raise, trying to get the ball over the bar. But I got 6 reps, and that's what I was getting in training with the 220.
Yeah.
So I was stoked. I was really happy, and it's my first time ever using tacky. So that was a fun experience for me. Trying to get my mask off, and I'm like flinging my mask off my fingers. But the tacky definitely helped, for sure.
Yeah.
What a grip changer. Almost took my shirt with it when I was letting the stone go. But,
it's crazy. It's it's nice to not train with it and then use it when you're going for a PR, use it in a competition. It's a whole different world.
Yeah. No, it definitely made it I don't think it made it easier, but it was just one less thing that you almost have to think about. Like, your hands aren't moving, and then the Husafell. The Husafell was my favorite event, and it was just because I watched 2 or 3 guys that were quite bigger than me not able to pick it up, and I didn't think I was going to get it. I was like, wow, okay. And I don't know if I feel like maybe my body shape is just kind of good for that event, because I noticed the taller guys really have to hunch over it and almost do a big back extension.
Yeah.
Where for me, it was basically a squat. Like, I was able to sink down low enough and wrap my arms around that my upper body was basically upright. So I just squatted as hard as I could and managed to pick it up. And I got it for 120 feet.
What was the weight on that?
300.
Oh man, I can't do 300 for 120 feet.
Yeah, and I did it at prime strength in training, but the one in prime strength, it's got much wider taper.
Yeah.
And I just found it didn't slip nearly. This other one at Raw slipped out of your arms way easier. I lost my grip probably at 80 feet and just had it on my fingertips and kind of just like leaned back and managed to waddle it the rest of the distance before dropping it. But like all the insides of my arms are just bruised and torn up still. Like either like the stones didn't get me that bad, but the Husafell really left a couple souvenirs.
Yeah. Well, I was really excited to be able to watch some of it on the live stream, and see the videos and everything afterwards. Everybody's saying the same thing, that it was a really well run event, and everybody that was involved has had nothing to say but positive things, which is great because what Raw and Renfrew are doing, trying to move the sport in the Maritimes in that kind of more organized direction, is really cool to see.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Um,
Um, I don't know. Do you ever remember a gym in New Brunswick called United Performance
yep,
in Moncton? So that's where I trained there before I moved to Nova Scotia, and that's where I got my first taste of trying things like the log press. And they had a couple frame carries and farmers carries, but it wasn't like I wasn't there long enough to really take interest in it before I moved. And since then, like the sport, like I just noticed like it was nothing back then. And that was only 2016. Like it wasn't popular. And now it's like everybody's talking about it. You see it on TV now all the time. It's just way more popular. And now you're seeing a lot more weight categories, which makes it doable for people like me. Like in my head, I was like, all right, I'm training for Nova Scotia strongest man, and the yoke is 800 pounds. So I got work to do. You know what I mean? Like I got work to do. But now it's more accessible to people, and it's fun to see. I love seeing the little guys killing it, like, or you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the strong is strong. When you see somebody that's 180 pounds, deadlift 500 pounds, you know what I mean? Like that's a good lift. I love watching shit like that. It's just entertaining, and I feel like everybody gets a chance to really try it out now and see what they're made of.
yeah. I think the direction that is taking with accessibility and inclusivity is what's really making it pop off.
Yeah.
That, and honestly, that and social media, being able to post about events and talk about events, and you actually know the weights ahead of time, and there's going to be weight classes and all that stuff. It's just you know it, it's only good for the sport. um
Yeah.
we're in March, start of April, and there's already been one competition. There's two planned for New Brunswick. There's at least, Atlantic Canada Strongest Man. Rob Howard's talking about doing another one in the fall. Pictou County Strongest Man is probably going to happen. I'm sure Prime will do something. So there's another 3, 4 competitions in Nova Scotia. There's one already planned in PEI in May. They'll do at least another one at PEI Strongest Man. The guys in Newfoundland are killing it right now with, basically, they have a league with qualifying events for provincials. So they're doing an online qualifier right now
Oh, wow.
where guys can videotape and send in their qualifying lifts for these bigger competitions later in the year. So,
Oh,
from
that's
where
incredible.
strongman was even just a few years ago to now, in Atlantic Canada and the Maritimes, is just amazing.
Yeah. Especially if you can like doing the qualifying videos, that's pretty cool. And just thinking with like how everything is right now, it's motivating for people who probably feel like the competition is going to get canceled, or you know what I mean, whatever it is that's coming up.
Yeah.
You can do it on your own now. I know that this is definitely something that I want to keep going with. Like I want to see what I can keep doing. And Atlantic Canada's Strongest Man's July 10th, I believe,
Yeah.
and that's the same date as the bodybuilding show that I was going to do.
That's
Got
right.
rescheduled for. So that's I've already made the commitment to do the bodybuilding show, but this is going to be my last bodybuilding show, and then I'm just going to focus strictly on strongman training and powerlifting as well. I'd love to try powerlifting too. And this, I'm actually going to do strongman training this entire bodybuilding prep. I'm just going to change it up, go a little more high volume, and use it as a bodybuilding tool because it's still way more fun. You can't tell me that doing a log press ain't more fun than a seated barbell press. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll be training hard just with bodybuilding in mind for the next 15 weeks or so.
Well, the prominence now, or at least there's more eyes on under 90 and under 80 kilo strongman.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's a big. They had a big gap, like under 80 to under 105. That's a big gap. But under 90, what's 90?
It's about 190.
191, 192.
Yeah.
Something like that. That under 90 would be a real good class to be in, I think.
That would be perfect for me. That's
You wouldn't even
basically
have to
what I
cut.
want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's me without dieting, basically. You know what I mean? So, and you always feel it's just easier when that's one less thing you don't have to stress about. Like that whole last week, I was just constantly worried about what I'm eating, making sure everything's tracked perfectly and just making sure I make weight. And if that's one less thing that you got to worry about, then that's great. And from what I hear is most of the higher level events, that's lightweight, is 90 kilos and under.
Yeah. So they'll do 90. They'll do over 105, under 105, and then under 90. Usually. Some competitions even have under 100 and then under 90. Just depends on who you're competing with, or the organization that's doing it. But that under 105 and then under 90 seems to be the most common thing right now.
That's what I'll be shooting for. And like I said, the minute I'm done this bodybuilding show, it's a big event. It's called the Gladiator Showdown. I was sad that it got canceled and they rescheduled it. I just think it'll be a good way to go out, kind of end I'm loving this strongman stuff, and I want to keep pursuing that and see how it goes. Like this past weekend just confirmed for me how much I enjoyed it, every second of it. So I'm looking forward to continuing. So I'll do this last bodybuilding show, and then my goal will be doing all the big ones in 2022. Yeah, man.
Well, I think that's a good place to end. Alex, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I was really excited to talk about the competition last weekend, and your lifts were impressive, and I'm glad you enjoyed it that much that you're going to keep lifting or keep competing strongman.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, and have a good night.
You too, bro. Take care.
Everyone.